Salam, welcome back to Quran 101, Part 1, Episode 3. So we talked about the Quran being a book of guidance. We talked about the Quran being the eternal uncreated speech of God and some of the implications. So based on those two plus the Arabic language, one of the things that we believe about the Quran is that the meanings of the Quran are going to be consistent. Now you might think that, that doesn't sound like it's a big deal, but it actually is. Because oftentimes when we read the Quran, we deduce things that are not consistent. And we therefore talk about quote unquote contradictions in the Quran or contradictions in the religion, so on and so forth. But if you understand that this is a fundamental principle, one of our cardinal beliefs in the Quran, is that because it comes from God, because it's revelation, because it's one of God's attributes, etc., 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 therefore its meanings have to be consistent. That goes without saying. This is like a measuring stick for us. It's like a safety valve for us so that when we come to the Quran and we deduce something or we think we've understood something that in a way is inconsistent with some of the primary principles or the first principles that we have, as I like to call them, then we know that most likely we have done something wrong. We'll go back and look at the Arabic language. We'll go back and look at parts of the speech. We'll go back and look at what other people have said about the verses, etc., in order for us to arrive at consistent understandings. Inconsistent understandings, by the way, is something that happens. It even happens to the scholars. It's part of the process. And there is a small genre of literature amongst some of the ulama to point out some of these inconsistencies that people in the past have had in interpreting this verse or interpreting that verse, and to show, well, this is just inconsistent with a larger theme. And it's growing. It's not like I don't want you to make it seem that there are volumes and volumes of this stuff out there, but it is something that we have to look out for. In addition to this, we also want to look at, as I mentioned, what other people have written, other scholars that is, what they have written and said about the verses. We use that to guide us so that we can build upon that. And this is very important. This is one of the things that make up the Muslim mind. I have a course on my platform called The Muslim Mind. I spend a lot of time talking about things like this, is that the way that we think is we don't look at the past and throw it away. We look at the past, we respect the past, and we build on it. And we understand that the people in the past had their own time, place, people, and circumstance. We talked about that in the previous episode. We have a different time, place, people, circumstance. So our here and now is going to be different than 200-300 years ago. Very, very different. This allows me to respect and to build, rather than to look at what somebody in the past has written and be like, this is too old, this is too outdated, I don't need this, and just to throw it away. That's very dangerous. Because we are a civilization, and civilization builds one generation after another. So we look for consistent meanings, and in part of looking for consistent meanings is we go and we look into the past, we see what people have written in the past, and we use that to build and to add layers. In the final part of the series, which is still many episodes away, inshallah, I will talk about actual tools of how tafsir is done, how we deduce meanings. So I don't want to get into that so much now, but I want to park it here so that we understand that this is one of our beliefs. I will see you inshallah for the next and final episode for this part. Take care.